cutback for Vasilev, and Lukic! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen out to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal on his Union debut? The record signing, off and running in his first appearance for the club.
Welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and off to a great start. I noticed because I had my soundboard muted. But look, people that listen on the RSS feed, they're not going to hear the difference. But people live, yeah, you guys are going to hear that blunder. But yeah, I guess, right? And Philadelphia Union aren't up to speed. I'm not up to speed. So I guess we can have some slack. But yeah, Philadelphia Union. 2 games in MLS, 2 losses, 2 games in CONCACAF Champions Cup, 2 wins. And yeah, I know Jose and I did not talk about the Defense Force game, and I don't even think we really need to talk about that game. I mean, 12-0 on aggregate, nothing really to add. I mean, not a difference between those 2 teams. We're definitely going to focus on the game against New York City. A lot of news this week, too, from the Union. Finally confirming Markus Anderson and Brooklyn FC. Finally confirming Philippe Ndinga. We had the MLS roster release, profile release. So we'll talk about that briefly. But again, there is a lot to get to. But before we get into all that, Jose, how are you doing?
Better, man. Needed a break after that Friday. I think it was Greg Oldfield, our good friend, great friend at this point, who had sort of said it in the press room, and I think just whether he was behind the PHL Soccer Now or someone else's account, because he pops in and out all over the place. But it really felt like it was a fire hose of information on Friday with just like hit after hit after hit. I think it ended up being like 5 or 6 press releases. And I think that number includes the MLS Next Pro releases of some of those players, which, man, I have so many things to say about that whole thing. Like, I can't be arsed to really watch that, considering, like, I don't know jack about these fucking kids. Like, I want to know more, but, like, you can't expect me to ultimately care 24 hours before they go on to play, you know? Like, that's neither here and there. But long weekend, rested, in a very nice Sunday afternoon game. Rare last year. I think it's equally as rare this year, but we got it early this year.
Yes, super happy that we had a early kickoff game, 4:30 kickoff, and we were discussing it's a couple games this year for the Union. They have a couple games coming off in the next couple of weeks that have early kickoffs. Chicago's an early kickoff game. 4:30, I think that game's kicking off at, and I know Atlanta's 3 p.m. Double checking Chicago, but yeah, it is so nice when you get those early kickoffs, because I feel like you have so much that you can do getting home at a decent time, or even if you don't have anything to do when you get at home you still have, it's 4:30 the kickoff, yeah, against Chicago. But I mean, still, like, you're not getting home super late at night. I know for me, it's like if it's a 7:30 game, I'm not getting home until midnight, past midnight, and yeah, those games suck. But look, we got treated to an early kickoff game, and Philadelphia Union, like we said, 2 straight losses, and I'm gonna try not to be down on them too hard. I know social media is like completely lost it, and maybe people in the comment section tonight, which, by the way, shout out Elon Musk for finally fixing Twitter broadcasts. So now I guess people can see that, and that when they click on the profiles that we're live. So we'll see how long that lasts for. But yeah, kickoffs, good timing, but Union, not so good. So I don't know, Jose. Instead of me stalling for time so I can get things situated in the behind the scenes, let's just go, I guess, into the news, and then we'll talk about this game, because like I said, there's a lot to talk about. Blunder of the week too should be interesting. I don't know, we might get kicked off of YouTube too halfway through this episode, and it would kind of have to do with Blunder of the week. So I guess we'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed that we don't get kicked off of YouTube, because Blunder of the week does certainly have to do with some MLS creators getting kicked off. And my goodness, Jose, there we go. There
U-
we go.
Union too could be the backup, Todd, for Blunder of the Week. MLS Next Pro, no way. Both actually, MLS Next Pro can get a lot of really good praise this week, and also maybe one team specifically fall into the Blunder of the Week. It's like duality at its best.
Yeah, and now that I'm situated, finding the news intro and the million clips that we have, now we can get straight into the news. All right, so we kind of talked about these already, Jose. Maybe not so much in depth with Ndinga now that we have the years and what roster spot he'll take up and whatnot. But Markus Anderson finally official, and for all the haters out there that were doubting you weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I guess I kind of owe you an apology, Jose. It's like, what more do you guys need? Seeing Marlon LeBlanc posting a video on social media of him nutmegging Markus Anderson. We saw over the weekend or during the week, CJ Olney pictured at a supporters event, and that loan deal has not been official yet, even though it's in the roster profile that he's on loan. It's just, we don't know yet, but look, I think we have an idea. So it's all so goofy, but Markus Anderson, nonetheless, finally official. We don't have to speak too much about this, but it does feel good, right, Jose? 100 for 100 so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's 26 days. That's what it took. Happy for Markus, happier for Marlon, who I think is sort of just very much Thanos-like, collecting the different stones as if they were, I should say the different players from the Union too, as if they were stones. And who knows, man, maybe Eddie Davis gets added in some way, shape, or form for this. So I glad it's official. I'm also so, and I wrote about it on like a separate piece of my own. So intrigued about this Brooklyn team. There's so much interesting stuff going on within it with Gabriel Alves, who was with Rhode Island when they had their inaugural season. So he brings that experience. And then you have obviously CJ Olney and Markus Anderson, who bring, I don't know, I don't want to, hopefully this isn't too negative, Todd, but like minimal MLS experience outside of practicing with MLS players, certainly MLS Next Pro experience, but this is obviously a bump up. So I don't want to be too dismissive of the time that they had with the Union. And then you have some other players there that are just so, I wish I could pronounce his last name, but the goalkeeper that they just got on loan, Kane Rizovanich, I think is how you say his last name. I could be completely wrong. That's a guy that, per sources, the Union tried to bring into the academy system and just couldn't get it done for whatever reason or another. I know that he was somewhat of a target, so he has that type of caliber. So all that to say that Brooklyn's going to be a fun team, and at this point, you alluded to it, I'm just sort of waiting for this CJ Olney press release. At this point, someone needs to just hit send, because it's so apparent it's happening that I don't know what a social marketing beat really looks like. Again, I'm not like the biggest account out there, but my goodness, the guy's out there doing supporter group events and being shown as on loan on the roster breakdowns. It's about time they just announce him.
Yeah, it's all so odd that I guess we'll probably get an announcement at some point this week. But again, I mean, you just never know. I mean, we thought that we'd get an announcement a while ago with Markus Anderson. That obviously never came either. But we don't have to spend any more time talking about Markus Anderson. We talked about that last episode. And we can spend a little bit of time talking about Philippe Ndinga. We know that's finally official with the Philadelphia Union. This is something that you had reported on 2 weeks ago, maybe, Jose. And yeah, I know that there was rumors out there a while before you finally confirmed everything, Jose. But people were starting to doubt this, just like there were Markus Anderson saying, "Is this going to happen?" We haven't heard an announcement in a while. And truth be told, I mean, these things take time. And if I'm not, if I'm incorrect, Jose, correct me, please. But if I'm not mistaken, I think you were telling folks on social media that, yeah, there was still some paperwork that needed to be done, even though there was reports saying that the deal was done. And I'm sure that probably played a part into why the Union announces when they announce this. But the truth be told is like transfers don't happen just like this, and there's a lot of paperwork that has to be done. Bradley Cornell told us last week too that yeah, he doesn't want to give an exact date, maybe a week and a half before he's back, before he's in Chester with the Philadelphia Union, and then we'll see where he's at fitness wise, and maybe playing games at best in the next 2.5, 3 weeks for the Union. But yeah, these things take time, and the Union finally get a left back to replace Kai Wagner. He is a U22 initiative signed through the 2028-2029 season, option for the 2029-2030 season. What's so weird about this too is when the Union released a press release, they never announced that he was taking a international slot. And then when this roster profile comes out, then he was listed as an international player, which I kind of figured, right? Being born in Gabon and being a Congolese international, it's like there's no way this guy qualifies for American citizenship unless you go so far back. And maybe there's something, but even then, it seemed like a roll of the dice. So, yeah, the Union finally get this deal done. And like I said, I mean, at best, this guy's playing, in 3 weeks for the Union?
Likely, it feels that way based on Cornell's comments. I do feel, I guess you gotta give a little slack to the Union fan base and the Union orbit period. I mean, in terms of your comment about transfers taking time, it really does seem like they've experienced, and we as press have experienced both extremes, with something like Ndinga taking a little bit longer than usual, or obviously publicly taking a little bit longer than usual, versus Bruno Damiani, where it was basically felt done over a weekend, right? Where, like that one, that caught me off guard a little bit. Ndinga, I remain true to my own principles of reporting, and that when I was speaking to sources, they specifically felt that it wasn't quite ready enough, and the major hurdle, or one hurdle, needed to be jumped over before it being in a good spot to be able to report it as finalizing. But some other reporters didn't care in terms of Tom Bogert, et cetera, and that's okay. It's it's your level of comfort as a reporter on what you want to say and what you don't want to say, and ultimately how you feel that your sources are sharing it with you. And even if they were to, if I was to post it after they told me X, Y, and Z that it wasn't quite there, for whatever reasons, I probably would be doing wrong by a source, right? So it's a game you play when you go through it. So I'm just happy that this thing's done, like officially reported and ready to go. I know I got confirmation shortly after the Jonathan Tannwolds of the world out in DC. So he must have gotten some sort of message or confirmation away from home, I'm guessing. So yeah, glad it's done, and the Union get their player. It's just gonna take some time to get him up to speed and get him running. I just wonder if they can weather the storm.
Yeah, and the weird thing too is it was being reported in the Swedish press that this was a deal around like $2.2 million, and from
Dollars or kroner?
Dollars.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so Jonathan Tannenwald talked to sources, said it's a fee around $1 million plus incentives. And I always thought that was kind of weird. And then you see people on Union social media start running with this, saying, "Oh yeah, the Union are really overpaying for this." And I think when you look at it, $1 million seems pretty accurate. I'm not doubting Jonathan Tannenwald's sources whatsoever. So I hope people aren't taking that. But my issue was
clip this and send it to the Inquirer. Clip it and send it to the Inquirer, please.
But seeing like people just constantly report without really doing the due diligence and saying, "Oh yeah, $2 million this is what I saw. This must be what it is," and people panicking on social media saying the Union overspent. And the truth be told, like, no, that's not what the Union did whatsoever. So I don't know. I mean, social media is such an interesting avenue. Things get posted and they can spread like wildfire, and I feel like that's exactly what happened with this Ndinga transfer fee. And I'm glad Jonathan Tannenwald was able to get confirmation that the Union in fact did not pay $2 million. But yeah, 20 years old and doesn't have a ton of experience. And we talked about this, Jose. And again, we don't have to really spend too much time talking about his play style or just his limited amount of experience playing through the different youth levels in France. Finally playing first team football last season that really started in the summertime in Sweden. So I mean, he's a player that's really fresh, but a player that has a pretty high profile, I would say. And the Union just continue to go out and do what they've done all season: sign young players and sign guys that have potential to get sold in the future. And I know that upsets people in the fan base, but we say it all the time, Jose. That's the nature of the business. And so you go out there, get a young, promising player, you hope that he pans out, and then eventually you sell him back to Europe. But again, just really happy to see this deal get over the line. Anything else you want to add before we get to the roster profiles?
Outside of the guy not the guy needs to not be compared to Kai Wagner, which I think is going to be the immediate knee-jerk reaction from everybody, press and fans alike. I think it's impossible not to, right? This is a guy who is taking up a U22 spot, which is obviously I consider them prestigious spots. I don't know how you feel about them, Todd, but like if you're taking a DP or a U22 spot, I expect you as a reporter, I expect you to be a class player that comes in and contributes right away. Obviously, that didn't happen with Owethu right away, but he blossomed into the once again duality of a man that he is that can do so great, and then ultimately do something relatively silly in terms of Dissent and the way that he handles some things. But Ndinga is not going to be Kai. It's going to be near impossible for this guy to be anywhere near Kai. And if he's remotely close, he's going to be a heck of a signing. But I personally don't expect that from him. But I hope that everybody, reasonable minds, can sort of keep that in mind.
For sure. And I've had a QR code up there for a while. So if you guys want to scan that, you guys can scan that and read more on the deal for Ndinga. I won't spend too much time talking about that anymore. And then I'll go ahead and put up a new QR code because we'll go ahead and talk about roster decisions. So again, won't spend too much time talking about this, nerding out. If you guys want to find all the ins and outs, I feel like I did a pretty decent job explaining that in an article where I feel like the average Frank can understand that. So again, QR code for you guys to scan, and people listening in the RSS feed, I'll leave a link to both in the show description so you guys can go ahead and scan that. But yeah, what I love about this is and I said in my article, I'm a nerd for this stuff. I love this stuff, and I get it. It's not for a lot of this fan base, a lot of fans in MLS. They just want to watch the game. I get it. But for people like you and I, and yes, I feel like I can speak for you, Jose, we nerd out for this stuff. And yeah, it feels like you do need a PhD to understand every little bit of mechanisms in MLS. But yeah, it's fun when you have the free time. And I do need people's help in the comment section real quick. I'm going to try something new where I know we're not getting a ton of comments right now, but I'm going to put Jose and I behind the scene. Can you guys let me know if you guys hear either one of us talking? Jose, I guess if you can just put in the chat too, if you can still hear me talking, because I want to put up this graphic for people who haven't seen it. The Union's roster profile that was released last week. So again, people in the comments, can you let me know if you hear us? If not, then I'll bring us back, Jose. But anyway, yeah, right here. Hopefully you guys can see this on the screen. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. The roster profiles on the Philadelphia Union. You have Bruno Damiani as the lone designated player. You have 4 U22s and Ezekiel Alado, Owethu, Makanya, Philippe Ndinga, and then Quinn Sullivan. He's your final U22. And this is something, Jose, you've been begging for, I feel like, the last couple of years, is for the Philadelphia Union to take advantage of that U22 initiative, and they finally do this season.
Yes. And more yes. This is exactly if the Union are going to go with their feels like patented, though I guess you would argue that Red Bulls is infringing upon the patent in terms of the young guys getting opportunities. The Union are doing just that. It's hard to believe that someone like Ezekiel Alado is a U22 player, but because the guy is a monster of a man, especially when you see him in person, like we did in the locker room, and you certainly did in DC ahead of me getting to a stadium with him in it. This is exactly it. I mean, all four of these players now, barring Quinn's injury, are four players that should be high caliber playing, contributing forces to what the Union are trying to do. Obviously, injuries like Quinn's and unfortunately behavior issues are gonna get in the way of that with Owathu and Ezekiel. But ultimately, I think like when those four players are firing, things are gonna go great. And when those four players are not firing, hopefully you have others stepping up. So, oh man, I can't see anything but love for this. This is great in terms of roster build for me, anyways.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you and I both, Jose, love about the U22 initiative is that teams that select this player model can get up to an additional $2 million in GAM. And now the thing with that GAM is it has to be spent during that same league season, no later than the roster freeze, which is October 9th of 2026. But for a team like the Philadelphia Union that doesn't spend a ton of money, more GAM the better, in my opinion. They can go out there and make more moves if necessary, make moves around MLS if they needed to, go out there and get an extra international roster slot, which they still have one available since they're only using 7. You know, they have the GAM available now with going to the U22 initiative model. Could the Union go out in the summertime, Jose? Could they even do something right now and sign another DP? They could. They absolutely could. I think it would be more likely in the summertime than it would right now in the winter. But they have the flexibility, and we'll find out at sometime this week the amount of GAM left available for teams. And I would imagine the Union don't have a ton left at this moment just because of how active they were throughout the January transfer window. But to receive that additional $2 million puts them back in the driver's seat and the potential to be active yet again in another window where, okay, I know things aren't off to a flying start for the Union right now, but it's only 2 games in. And I know we'll touch on that here in a bit, Jose, where there's people on social media. There's people I'm sure that aren't on social media that are pulling the fire alarm saying, yep, blow the season up. It's over. But if the Union are still in it and they feel like they're a move or two away, this additional $2 million GAM gives them the flexibility to go out there and potentially get another designated player.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, this team scouting and signing and making moves is never done. They're always looking for the next step. So keeping a DP spot doesn't serve them any good. Keeping a DP spot open doesn't serve them any good. And even the way that they go about it, it doesn't have to be a crazy expensive player like an Emmanuel Latela or anybody like that. So it could be another Bruno Damiani level player in terms of expense. So there is a question here from Evan. What position do you think they would sign a DP at? I'm eager to hear from you, Todd. 2 things. What position do you think they would go for, and what position do you wish they would go for?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say, yeah, you're going to get Quinn Sullivan back in the summertime. But I think, look, I know Damiani's been getting a lot of hate on social media as of late. I don't think you go out and get another striker. He has always, you're right, because they went out and got Anello, who can play as a striker, can play as a 10. Ezekiel Alado was the big acquisition this winter time. So I don't think you need a striker. I think it would be number 10 if I'm being honest. But there is a possibility, Jose, right, where Dalen John Jock plays so well with Haiti at the World Cup and the Union sell him in the summertime, and maybe you go out and get a DP number 6. I think that's a possibility. For me personally, I would want to see a designated player number 10. Yeah, I know the chance creation hasn't been great 2 games into the season, but I do think the more chance creators on your team, and even if the chance creation was up, teams could always do with more chance creators. So if I was in charge of going out and signing another designated player, I think it would be a number 10. And yeah, like I said, I can see this club in the summertime going for a 10. No way a striker. Maybe they do, but I'd be shocked, honestly, with the amount of money they invested in their strikers this offseason. So I would say 10, but knowing that the World Cup's here, knowing that Danley's going, that Danley's been quality since he's been with the Philadelphia Union, I can honestly see the world where Danley gets sold in the summertime, as much as that would hurt the Union, but his value might not be any higher than what it is after the World Cup. So yeah, I can see them investing into a number 6 designated player in the summertime. What about you?
I fall into the number 6 camp. I think the two players who are most likely to go after the summer or during the summer window, and depending on how things shake out in the regular season, not saying that the Union will make the playoffs. Not making the playoffs would be a massive issue with this club. Big problems. I can't imagine that's the case. But I think it's an Olwethan Makanya and a Danley Jean-Jacques. So I fall into the number 6 camp as to what they want to sign. And what I would also want them to sign. You don't want to waste the DP. I don't think you'd want to waste the DP spot. Certainly not on a goalkeeper, I don't think.
Oh,
Especially with Under Blake and what we got in Andrew Rick. And really, if you look at rosters across the league, seldomly do you see a goalkeeper take up that type of spot. It has to be something very special, like a World Cup winner, for example. And I don't think you even really see it in a center back or a left back or a right back to pay that type of money. I mean, that was the whole issue with Kai Wagner, and likely a big issue. I'm not saying that Glesnes got DP money at Los Angeles. I don't believe so. But why not spending on a dual position, right? A 6 is perfect in terms of getting a player that can do both center back and defensive center mid.
yeah, absolutely. And I think the only other thing I would say about the roster profiles, again, because I know we're 30 minutes into this podcast already, and I want to talk about this game. So again, the QR code's up there for you guys to go ahead and scan to read more about this, about TAM and all that stuff. Did you find it interesting, Jose, that either a Jeff Siri Larson or pulling it back up, a Jeff Siri Larson, Augustine Anello are DPs? I kind of expect, I mean, not DPs, TAM players. I expected them to be, but we do get confirmation here that they are indeed TAM players. You have Gainer Martinez, another one of those new signings, not a TAM player, just taking out one of those regular senior roster spots with no designation. But any surprise when you're in from Anello or Jeff Siri Larson taking up a TAM spot?
Not too surprised about those two. Where I was actually surprised, Todd, was more of not seeing a Milan Iloski move up into a higher designation. Yeah, I would have thought that maybe he's somebody who's earned it, especially the year that he had last year, and the fact that they brought him in at such. So, I mean, what was his? I can't even remember his salary. I don't even want to look at that spreadsheet right now. But whatever his salary was last year, considering the year that he had, was not enough. So I would have thought that maybe a Milan Iloski is one that moves up to the DP just on a temporary basis, and maybe even to a new deal, considering that, through 2027 and an option for 2028. He's How old is Milan actually?
Ooh, 26 maybe?
I could see him. I mean, I
6, yeah.
yeah, 26. Yeah, I wouldn't have been too upset about him getting a DP spot, considering again what he did all of last year and what a spark he was in the summer for them, leading to that supporter shield run.
Yeah, it was making $552,000 last year in guaranteed comp for the Union. So I would imagine this year probably went up a little bit, but the question is how much. Hopefully we'll see sometime in the spring from the MLSPA. I guess because people are listening to this on the RSS feed, and people probably won't go and click on the article, and people that are watching live probably won't click on the article, and maybe they're looking at the supplemental roster spot 31 that's taken by Styles Korzanowski, saying that he's unavailable on loan. He'll spend majority of the season with Union 2, which means that he's ineligible for MLS competition except through short-term call-ups, which is limited to 4 per player. Now, during CONCACAF competitions or Leagues Cup, there is no cap. He can play as many games as he wants, but that's for MLS only. And then you have Eddie Davis and Sal Levis, both designated as off-roster homegrown players. Both players unavailable. Now, because they are homegrown players and they're off-roster homegrown players, they can also receive short-term call-ups, but instead of 4, they're allowed to play in 6 MLS games until their roster designation has to be moved. But again, if you guys want to read more about that, just click on the QR code or click in the link in the show description. Now, Jose, let's get to the fun part, or I guess for this fan base, the not so fun part. Philadelphia Union losing last night to New York City by a score of 2-1. Goal scorers, Hannes Wolf in the 36th minute, Indiana Vasiliev with a late penalty kick in the 89th minute, and then Tavon Gray with a late game-winning goal in the 99th minute. 1 more minute to go in stoppage time, and the Union could have came away with a point, Jose. But I know there's a lot of talk for the referee controversy. There's the red card in back-to-back games, and then we can talk about the missed transition moments, Club America coming up here in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But just overall, I mean, your thoughts on the game last night for the Philadelphia Union. Let's not forget, too, New York City had a chance to take a lead earlier in this game. They hit the post, and then they finally get the goal. Union also hit the post in the 75th minute with Styles Korzanowski. So both teams had chances for sure in this game, but New York City took the chances better than the Union.
Well, if you followed my dumb ass on social media yesterday, I said that the Union lost the lead, which is absolutely wrong. I think I just meant to say that they dropped the point that they were about to potentially win. So my bad on that. I was certainly reminded by a lot of people that I made that mistake. So I apologize. I blame Evan, who just yaps, man. This Evan kid. How do you say his last name? Koenigsberg?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Just crack me up, man. The guy's chatty. Love him, but man, is he chatty over there in the press box. So anyways, the game really fun in a way in terms of like just watching soccer. It almost felt like toys bashing into each other, which was very much what happened in the playoffs too. There were so many passes just going stray. There were a lot of battles. I guess one of the questions I had was, I'm guessing that Frankie's substitution was one of the planned ones. 59th minute, I believe, that he came out.
Yeah, he was definitely pulling his hamstring though, because he had signaled over to Bradley Cornell. Cornell had signaled over to him, and you could see him throughout the second half just grabbing that hamstring.
Yeah, the hamstring, and then I think like momentarily right before being substituted, he took I think studs to the knee as well, right there on the sideline. So
you got to hear the scream too, which it's crazy too. I mean, told you the challenge that he took.
Yeah, pretty audible. But I think, I don't know, like it's weird to say, Todd, but I think they fell back into that whole predict to being predictable, right? Like everything that was actually dangerous was coming down the right side for a while. And then, in the second half, everything was down the right side with Nate until Ben Bender came in the second half. Because I really don't even want to talk about the first half, because that was just again, like toys bashing into one another. The second half got a little bit more exciting, in my opinion. They're very fortunate that Blake made the save that he made, and that there was enough pressure to, was it Seymour, number 99 for New York, who missed that breakaway? Blake doing what Blake does.
Credit has to be given to Danley, though, for tracking back, and I think played a big part of that, too. Yeah, Blake makes a save, but I think Danley probably did put him off a little bit as well.
Yeah, Danley reminds me of this guy I used to play soccer with, that he would look effortless in how he ran, and you would almost wonder, like, is he even trying? But when you actually look at the ground he's covering, he's like a gazelle, just, strides that are moving, and it looks so effortless. But also, this guy used to make noises when he ran, so you would just hear him breathing down your neck when he was trying to catch up to you. But Korzeniowski was very much a game changer, and I'll be the very first one to say that was not a penalty kick against New York City FC. That was, and repeating myself what I type with my fingers on social media. That was just two big guys with Thiago Martins and Stash Korzeniowski. Stash, I guess is how you pronounce it. Just two big dudes that were playing big boy ball, and ultimately the referee wanted to get involved, which we're going to talk more about that. But the weakest precedent being set in terms of what is a penalty in that type of position. Because if that's how it's going to be officiated from here on out, every game should have two penalties like that, just of the way that players jostle. Imagine what's the name? Jansen. Imagine how many penalties Jansen's going to give away for Orlando this season once he gets back healthy, playing center back, right? Because he's absolutely the king of just handling players in the box when they have their back to goal. And with that same sentence, Ezekiel Alado and Bruno Damiani should have 3 penalties every single game, if that is what a penalty kick is nowadays. So I don't know that there's much else to take out of this game, except I guess the last thing I'll add before I turn it over to you is this is the game where you wish Alado would have been on the field, because it got so stretched at times that one long ball with Ezekiel's speed and strength could have been very dangerous. I think of a couple opportunities in the first half where Olowski broke away on the side nearest to us in the press box, I guess left side going forward. And I'm thinking to myself, if Alado's in the middle, that ball from Olowski could be a first or a second time pass rather than trying to slip it through. I guess there was 3 players and Damiani was trying to streak through, I guess, around 3 of them. So this is one where Alado maybe is the difference. But I know we have people asking about VAR and the botched penalty against Lukic, which I also don't know that one is a penalty either. I don't know. I'm of two ways with that one, but I can definitely say that that Korzeniowski one was not a penalty.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we can go ahead and transition to the referee controversy on the night. I don't think Chris Penso was great. And as somebody commented on my match recap last night, they were like, I know you don't like to blame referees, Todd, but the referee performance is bad. And you're right. I said, yeah, you're right. I don't like to blame referees for the reason why the Union lost. And I'm still not going to say that's the reason why the Union lost on the night. The Union beat themselves, I would say. But Chris Penso definitely didn't help, in my opinion. There was 12 fouls against the Union on the night, 14 fouls for New York City, 1 yellow card for the Union. You had that double yellow for Macania, 2 yellow cards for New York City. And I thought that it was probably an evenly ref game, if I'm being honest, Jose. Yeah, there were a lot of bad calls that went against the Union. You had the 2 penalty kick goals, 2 penalty calls for the Union. 1 given, 1 not given with the Lukic. We got a clear view of that, Jose. I mean, I can't recall if they showed the replay in the stadium what it looked like. Raul definitely did make contact with Lukic, and I'm sure fans went back and watched it on Apple to see, okay, how close was that call? There was definitely contact. I'm not denying that. And maybe the penalty gets given, Jose, if Nathan Harriel doesn't touch that ball, but the fact that Nathan Harriel got to the ball and then he skies it so much, maybe bails New York City out, because look, the Union still were in possession of the ball. They had a chance with Harriel pretty much 1v1, and then he just completely skies it over the crossbar, and now it's given as a goal kick. And I will say that I was surprised that they didn't give a penalty because of how long that Chris Penso took at VAR. I said he's up there for like 5 minutes, it felt like, and I don't know how long he really was on the monitor for, but it felt like the longer that he was up there, he's obviously looking for some kind of justification to give the penalty kick, because if he wasn't going to give the penalty, Jose, he would have came out, in my opinion, and said no penalty right away. But obviously, VAR is telling him, look, have a hard, serious look at this. Like, there might be something in this. And we saw lots of replays on the broadcast on Apple. I'm sure the referees have different angles than what we had on the broadcast. But yeah, I was shocked with the amount of time spent at VAR that Chris Penso said no penalty kick. But watching it, I didn't think it was a penalty. The only reason I thought a penalty might be given is because he was at the monitor for so long. But yeah, there's contact, but for me, yeah, not enough. The Stas Korzanowski one, that was the one that was a terrible call. I mean, it's just two big guys going at it. You see it all the time. Just a striker holding off a center back, and Stas wasn't going to turn Thiago Martins at all if he's able to collect that ball. And so, yeah, I think that was just, maybe we should have given you a penalty for the first one, and we'll give you it here on the second one. But yeah, I'm fine if the referee would have said no penalty either way. I thought they were both kind of soft, and I know some people in the fan base probably don't feel that way. I know fans in the stadium were pretty pissed. They were pretty vocal when the Lukic one wasn't given, and then maybe a sigh of relief when they gave the Korzanowski one. But were you surprised they never went to the monitor, Jose, for the Korzanowski penalty?
A little bit
weird.
Yeah, a little bit surprised by it. And I know that the immediate reaction from people is a makeup call, and you can't help but to think that that's what it was. That's funny. Gosh, that made me laugh. Angel Hernandez, my God, I haven't thought about that dude in a while.
Referee.
Yeah, dude. Quick aside. You see that video that was going around of I think 3 robo ump calls in a row, and every single one of them, the ump behind the play was absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
Like, no, these umps are not going to be able to hide. If anything, whatever their union is, better be ready to fight for these guys, because they're going to get shredded this season. But back to the game. Yeah, I was surprised. I was very surprised that the Korzanowski foul was not reviewed. Unless I'm missing some sort of ruling. I am not a referee expert for sure. No, you're not either. Just calling you out right now. We're not. But it does feel like a little absent that it wasn't there. And you're right. The fact that VAR call review was so long that players are getting into fights over the penalty spot, waiting for Penso to make a decision. So like, shit, like if it takes that long, it's pretty telling that it shouldn't be, exactly. It has to be clear and obvious and relatively quick. And I wonder, I'm guessing that Carnell and company, meaning his assistants, probably realized that as they were waiting longer and longer. I know we did in the press box, so they'd be foolish to think, oh no, there's definitely a penalty coming. He's taking long.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, you see the sideline referees go to the players that are at the penalty spot, and then Penso looks over, blows his whistle, like, get away. I'm looking at this monitor, just stop messing with each other. Like, it was so childish and everything, and which maybe begs the question, right, Jose? Why wasn't there a yellow card given out for that situation? It felt like Macanha's yellow card that he received for Morales, where Morales is going away from the goal. Maybe Macanha doesn't need a foul there, but at the same time, I didn't think it was the worst foul. It's just a typical foul you see, and Morales sells it for sure. He's a shorter player, and Macanha is a big physical center back, that's for sure. But I didn't think that the yellow card that he picked up in the 23rd minute was yellow card worthy. And Wolfie brings up my biggest issue of this entire game. No, not the penalty decisions, but it was when Alosky had the breakaway in the second half and Penso decided to blow the whistle. Ben Bender clearly hits Macanha. Looked like it was a head injury. But Penso doesn't blow the whistle because New York City regained possession of the ball after Macanha and Bender run into each other. And so if it is a head injury, why aren't you blowing it right away? As soon as the Union win that ball back off of New York City, and now they break on the attack, they have numbers advantage with Alosky leading the way. He blows the whistle, and you saw the frustration from Alosky He kicks the ball out of frustration, which, by the way, if we're going to give a yellow card for Dissent and everything, why didn't Olaski get a yellow card for kicking the ball away? It just seemed like it was so inconsistent. The referee performance was so bad. And we'll get into the red cards and everything here in a bit, I promise, folks, because I do want to play something from Indiana Vasilov after the game. But it was that moment, Jose, that I said, how are you going to call this? Yes, you should absolutely stop the game right away for a head injury. But the fact is that as soon as New York City got on the ball after Makanya and Bender hit into each other, you don't blow the whistle for a head injury. You let them play on. And it's not until the Union win the ball back, they go in a 3v2 situation, Olaski leading the way out wide left, you blow the whistle. Makes zero sense to me. Makes no sense to me. That inconsistency, I think, needs to be addressed. And I get it. Referees aren't perfect. They're going to make mistakes. But yeah, that one to me was the biggest issue of the night. It makes no sense to me. And I don't know if Jonathan Tannenwald, Matt DeGeorge, or Joe Tanzi, they're the three pool reporters for the Union. I don't know if any of them asked about that. But that's the question I would have asked if I was the pool reporter. Why didn't you blow the whistle dead as soon as New York City were on the ball, but as soon as the Union won it back, you blow the whistle? Made zero sense to me. 0 cents.
Zero. Very, very inconsistent refereeing in that sense. And absolutely, I would argue that how many times did he look at Damiani when he was down signaling, whether it was an actual head injury or not? I'm taking that out of the equation, but signaling on the ground, rolling that he has a head injury, which with the Ben Bender and Olwethu Makanya, it was such a bang bang play, and that's such a football thing to say, so I apologize, but like such a quick play that I can't imagine Penso really had a better view than he does some of these other things that do get ultimately whistled out right away. Again, signaling to the Damiani injuries half the time he's a head injury because he goes balls to the wall trying to get the play moving and fighting. So yeah, I don't know, man. You and I align in that it's so tiring and boring to blame the referees. But as I think Kevin Kincaid illustrated it well in his one tweet, like it was very much Chris Penso at half looking in the mirror and saying, "Make it about yourself," like just giving no one an opportunity. And I want you to flip to the red cards, and I want to talk about the interaction I had this morning with a former player that carried out through the rest of the morning. Oh, you go ahead. You get it going.
You want me to go ahead? Yes. I mean,
yeah, let's talk about the red card.
For the Union to get a red card and the mood in the locker room, we talked to Stas Korzanowski, Nathan Harriel, and Indiana Vasilov. I think that was the three players that came out. And the mood was, the agreement was that, yeah, it's back-to-back weeks now that the Union shot themselves in the foot. You play a man down for majority of the second half with Alado getting tossed for Dissent against DC United. And again, don't find out exactly what was said. I don't think we will find out what was said. But then Makanya gets sent out for a second yellow card because he waves his arm like this, punches the air in direction of the referee because Penso says it's a corner kick. Makanya doesn't believe it's a corner kick. And because of that gesture, because of his displeasure with Chris Penso, he draws a second yellow card, and now he's sent out. And now the Union have to play 8 minutes in extra time, down a man. Of course, that's going to be an advantage for New York City. Yeah, I know the Union had subbed in Gany Martinez to have two center backs out on the field, but you're playing down a man for the last 8 minutes of stoppage time. And this game was so chaotic throughout, and you knew more chaos was going to come. And sure enough, it cost the Union. Ben Bender, no offense to him, to your point, looked pretty good coming off the bench, creating a couple chances for the Union out wide left, but had this very, very, very poor giveaway. Union tried to play short, which I don't know why they try to play short. Bender loses the ball, and then New York City break. And thank goodness for Andre Blake and Daniel John Jock in the 82nd minute stuff read. But then Bender gets beat at the back post by Tavon Gray. And I think that's the experience of an actual fullback and a player that's not a fullback. Just loses his mark and loses out on the head. There's no way Ben Bender, taller than Tavon Gray, should be losing on that header. But again, he's not a fullback and doesn't track his runner, and it's a free runner into the box. And when that happens, only bad things can happen. But yeah, it all started with Makanya getting tossed because he just punches the air like that. And already on a yellow card. You got to be smarter in that situation.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's worthwhile to play the Indiana clip if you have it ready.
I think the frustration is we're just letting ourselves down at the end of the day. 2 red cards due to Dissent is obviously not a trend we want to keep on setting for ourselves. So yeah, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot at the end of the day. It's just, I guess, new rules have been implemented. Referees are, I guess, more. I want to word this correctly because I don't want to get fined. More susceptible to words from players or actions, whether they are directed at them or not at them. And yeah, we just need to be smarter.
Yeah, and so I mean, I agree with Indiana Vasilov, and I respect him for saying, "Yeah, I gotta word this correctly so I don't get fined," because there was going to be 2 chumps like us that play that clip, of course. So yeah, hopefully Indiana Vasilov doesn't get fined for that. I don't think he says anything wrong, but yeah, at the end of the day, he's right. Back-to-back weeks of yellow cards, got to be smarter.
Yeah, and that's just it. I think 2 things can be true, and this led to this interaction I had with I'm just happy he's still lurking around with Kai Wagner, who ultimately saw my comment, which my comment was, I can think of 3 or 4 players that have either departed the league and are 2 specifically, just off the top of my head right now, Jose Martinez and Kai Wagner. Those 2 with this new set of rules that the referees are abiding by, which is fine. It's just going to take time to, I guess, get conditioned to what the new standard is. Those 2 would be missing every other game, considering their I guess it's behavior towards the referee. I mean, how many times did we hear Kai tell referees to go F off during games up when we were in the press box, right? It was loud enough.
He would exactly. I do want to correct something. I don't know exactly if he's saying "fuck off" to the referees, but he's making a gesture that you can assume he's telling the referees to screw off.
I could have sworn I've heard him say that to referees. I've definitely, and you and I have definitely seen him like go like this at referees. The same thing that Makanya did, right? Look at him and say, like, "What are you doing?" And even back backtrack to that social media clip that the union put out of all the guys eating steak while watching the All-Stars, and they all crack up because they could hear Kai Wagner tell the ref to go F himself, right? All that to say that, I had mentioned to somebody on social media that, someone like Kai would have a really hard time staying on the field considering this new standard. And Kai very kindly commented saying, sometimes it's about being able to experience, being able to disguise it, know when to do it, how to do it. To which that led to a nice, probably 35, 40-minute conversation with him, just, messaging on WhatsApp and Instagram, whatever, of like, yeah, I think that's true. But I think it also can be true that, yes, while some of it is experience, I think some of it is also genuinely the new set of rules that these guys have to play by, right? I think some people might say or take the angle or I guess take the angle of, well, this is what happens when you get rid of so many big pieces of the team that brought leadership, like a Jacob Glesnes. It's like, okay, I can see that, but you also can't disagree that we've watched and heard players do and say way harsher things at the Pensos of the world, the Nesbits of the world, the Guidos of the world in previous seasons, that this year feels heightened. And I checked, the Union are tied with the most red cards so far this season. Houston is second. And even if you go back and watch those red cards for the Houston game, there's at least one I'm pretty sure that's not a red card a couple of seasons ago. And it has nothing to do with Dissent, but rather just
a bad call.
I don't even know if I'd call it a tackle from behind. It was just a really bad call refereeing wise. So I don't know, man. While I appreciate Kai's comment, and Kai, thank you so much for chiming in. If you're watching, listening, or someone sends you this, I think two things can be true. Sure, the experience and knowing when and how and where on the field to let your emotions out, absolutely a factor in it all. But I think it can also be true that these new boundaries, or I guess this new sandbox that the players are playing within, is feels vastly different than in years prior. Certainly, Carnell did not look too happy, and I don't know if you have a clip for Nate lined up, but he certainly sounded like he sounded very disappointed, and in his words, that was like, we need to finish games with 11 dudes. Like we can't be killing ourselves and shooting ourselves in the foot, more or less.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's really not much else I want to add about the referee performance, the red cards. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't expect us to talk about either one of those topics for as long as we did, and that's perfectly fine. I do want to try to wrap up the podcast here soon. Almost an hour in, and I had a whole bunch of clips for Bradley Cornell that I wanted to play. There's still one from Indiana Vasilov I want to play. I don't have anything from Nathan Harriel. But I guess as we transition into missed transition moments for the Philadelphia Union, Bradley Cornell was talked about that, and for me, if I was going to write a second article, it would have been about the missed transition moments because there was a lot for the Union last night. I think it was complete opposite of what we saw the previous week down in DC, where they didn't really create a lot of chances, but against New York City, I think they did create chances. Jose, I know you said earlier you didn't want to talk about the first half, but there was moments where the Union had won the ball back quickly, and then they were just a pass or two away where they just couldn't string together the final product. And if they string that together, maybe they're in within a chance. I think to your credit, having the pace of somebody like Ezekiel Alado, maybe you do break those lines. And Bradley Cornell had said that was part of the thinking why they decided to go with Milan Alaski up top with Bruno Damiani is because of his speed, playing on Nello out wide. That obviously didn't go to plan. So later on in the first half, they switch it up. But you could see the thinking from Bradley Cornell because the moments were there for the Union. They were winning the ball back, but that final product was missing. And I do understand why fans are frustrated. But again, it's only 2 games in. And there was somebody that I quote tweeted on social media, like saying, "Oh, I told everybody the Union were going to be bad." We're 2 games into the season. How can you say after 2 games that the Union are going to be bad? This is what Bradley Cornell had to say on the transition moments during the game.
The first half we broke lines and then couldn't get the shots off, right? Or the pass goes behind us instead of in front of us. So yeah, just some of those fluid movements, whether it's in behind first pass or whether it's on same side or weak side, we weren't just able to execute at the highest level. But yeah, listen, we know there's a bit of work to do. We know we're not quite where we need to be, and that's totally understandable. And but it's no excuses either. Obviously the team's not happy, and a lot of it is self-inflicted over the last 2 weeks. If you look at that, 2 red cards in 2 games, and this is something when one guy is disconnected or when one red card happens, then we have a mountain. We've created a mountain ourselves to climb. So this is something, and we knew we have a young, hungry squad, and sometimes the moment gets bigger. Gets to us a little bit. And this we have to learn, we have to grow, and we have to have these experiences that, some guys need, to step up a little bit in terms of their leadership, to step up in terms of their composure, and when we need to have a calming voice, and when we need to have a presence in a different way. But yeah, some of our stuff over the last 2 weeks, from a disciplinary standpoint, is probably substandard, and which leaves us a mountain of work to do.
And of course, like Bradley Cornell ties it back into the red card and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, he's spot on, Jose. I just said it, and Bradley Cornell backs it up. And there were moments. They were close. And I'm going to take the risk. We're still on YouTube, as I can tell, Jose. So I'm going to try to play a clip, a video clip from the game. And maybe this video does get taken down, and I'll take the L for that. But yeah, there was a moment in the 15th minute here, Jose, where New York City turn over the ball, and now the Union going forward, they play Anello in. Anello plays that pass in behind Olaski. You see Damiani completely wide open here on this play. If that's a better ball into Olaski, you have Damiani centrally wide open. And the fan base gives him so much crap. He's making the runs, but what's he supposed to do when he's not getting chance creation? Like, please, somebody answer me that. Where's the chance creation coming from? It was better this week than it was against DC United, but this is a clear cloud opportunity. No center backs with him right there, Jose. All it takes is a good pass that's not behind for Olaski. Olaski cuts it into the middle for Damiani. Now he's 1v1 against Matt Freese. It's slight moments like this, and this is what gives me, hope. It's what gives me confidence that, yeah, these issues can be worked out. It's not the end of the world for the Union just because, they lost to New York City. We actually did see them transition. They just were missing that final product.
And not for nothing, man. Just even watching that clip again, even though Damiani couldn't get any type of service in that play specifically, he still hauled his ass back trying to chase the ball. So like he's doing defensive work anyways, despite Anello trying to get Olaski what should have been a through ball rather than a square ball. Because I think this is the chemistry part too, right? We're focusing specifically on that clip right now. That is Anello passing it to Olaski, and Olaski's looking for a through ball when Aneo's looking for a give and go. If you look at that play all together, and then the give and go would have been the release for Aneo Damiani. But there's a lot of hope. I really hope that, listen, are they a Shield winning team? I don't think so. Not this year, especially after 2 losses and looking like San Diego is going to be a juggernaut, looking like LAFC is going to be unbelievable again. It's just not believable. And the Union did not do themselves any good this weekend, obviously by losing, but even worse, how much help they got across the league with Eastern Conference teams taking a lot of L's and draws to teams that they shouldn't have drawn, like Columbus drawing to, was it Sporting Kansas City? I believe it was. Yeah, like that's a bit of a shocker. That's a team that Kansas City team is not a good team. And Columbus went on to just not get it done. Missed PK too, I believe, during that game. So I think this Union will sort itself out. I think it just needs to. It was never going to be as fast of a start as it was last year, right?
No,
like
never.
They picked up a 4-0 win at Orlando with I'm sorry,
4-2,
whatever it was. But you had Baribo scoring. Is that the game he scored 4?
Didn't he have 4 in that game? Nah, Baribo, Gazai, Ua, and Baribo again.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, point stands. It was such a hot start last year that it definitely wasn't going to be replicated that way. Now, where you could argue is that last year, DC was definitely a 3-pointer, and you could argue that New York should have been at least a draw based on last year's a draw or a win, considering their record at home. So you could argue that if all things would have remained equal in terms of rosters, that could have been a 6-point weekend last year, this year. But it is what it is. There's a lot of room for growth. And no, Wolfie, if anything, this deal of sending Gastag to Columbus when Ernst Tanner did should be studied as one of the biggest fleeces in MLS history you have ever witnessed. To have, what was it, 5 million? 4 million, 5 million? Can't remember what the number was.
4.
Yeah, Isa Tall's Isa mad right now with how much he spent and got nothing in return. I mean, the guy doesn't even get 8 minutes of play anymore. Like it's really, really sad to see what happened to Gastag. And I was one of the first ones to tell you that he should have flourished in that system, but obviously Nancy, whatever, is not there anymore, and different boss out there, and Gastag is just a casualty of it all. It's a shame for him. I feel for him, but what a fleece.
Yeah, what a fleece. I agree with you. No way the Union should try to bring back Daniel Gazdag, but Yeah, the last thing I'll say on this topic, then we can go into Blunder of the week. I know I wanted to talk about Club America, but again, we're well over an hour on the podcast, so we can talk about that next episode or what have you. But the Union only lost 2 games in a row once last year. That was against Columbus and Nashville. In MLS play, should say. I know they lost 2 games in a row coming away from Vancouver, and then they lost the game in the US Open Cup down in Nashville. So, yeah, I guess in all competitions, theoretically, they lost twice, 2-game losing streaks, but in MLS play, only once last year. And yeah, I mean, we see this all the time with teams competing in CONCACAF Champions Cup. They usually struggle at the beginning of MLS. We saw it last year with Cincinnati when they came into Subaru Park, when the Union put up 4 goals against them, and Cincinnati literally had a CCC game coming up. So this is what we come to expect when teams are competing in CONCACAF Champions Cup. I do want to play one more clip real quick, like I said, from Vasilev, and then we're going to Blunder of the Week, just because I think it is a good way to wrap up this section from Vasilev. The Union haven't had a full week of training. They're finally going to have it this week. They've missed players because of injuries in preseason. Damiani missed 2 games in preseason because being away in Uruguay, getting his green card. And so finally having a team that's pretty healthy for the most part, you finally get a full week of training. You get to work on those chemistry, those little pieces that you're missing, and I think, yeah, you have the game against San Jose this Saturday. Don't have to worry about a midweek game. I think that's going to do wonders for this team, and this is what Indiana Vasilev had to say with a full week of training.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice. Full week of training. Get the legs fresh for San Jose on Saturday. Kind of refresh and regroup, but yeah, I mean, the good thing is it's all things that we can fix, and there's nothing like huge. It's just small things. We got to be clinical. We got to have like 1 or 2 more, touches, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that's a pretty good way to wrap that up, Jose. What about you? Mute it, my friend.
Devil's advocate of your comment on playing CONCACAF, bucking the trend, San Diego.
Hey,
but then again, they kind of played. I hate to call them crappy teams, but Montreal and St. Louis are not, DC and New York City. So for what it's worth.
Very true. Very true. Well, let's go ahead and go to Blunder of the Week. So this is one that I'm happy to talk about. So Blunder of the Week, and I guess part of the reason why I play the videos so late, Bradley Cornell, was because there was an issue that I saw from Noah Riff, who covers Seattle Sounders for lobbying Scorchers out in Seattle. I believe they're with
Sounders
at Heart. Thank you. Yeah, they're tied in with Sounders at Heart. That's their podcast. And so Noah had came out and tweeted that their video on YouTube got completely taken down by MLS because they played snippets from a press conference and they're reacting to a Seattle Sounders loss. And so I had commented on this post because our last episode, Jose and I, you guys know how I always play press conference clips. I played one tonight. I noticed after the Ty Burrebo episode that we talked about with DC United, I got a message from YouTube that said, yeah, you can't monetize this video. And that never happened before with press conferences. And then I see Noah say that their video completely got blocked. Nobody can view it. They can't monetize it. Nothing. And I'm not blaming the Philadelphia Union. This is not the Philadelphia Union's fault at all. Noah's not blaming Seattle Sounders because this isn't the club's fault. This is an MLS issue. And I'm not sure how much of an issue it really is for MLS as opposed to, all right, they have AI systems that track this kind of stuff, kind of like video clips that Jose or myself will post on Twitter and those videos get taken down. I'm sure it's some kind of AI that can detect this stuff. And press conference clips got their video taken down. And I hope there's a way for MLS to correct this, because let's face it, the media coverage is less and less. We saw what happened with Doyle at MLS, no longer writing for MLS, and he's been there for years. And this is what fans want. This is how they stay in touch, in tune with what's going on at their clubs, with people playing press conference sound bites, people playing sound bites from interviewing players and everything. And it's something that's, let's face it, Jose, it's free labor for MLS. They're not having to pay anybody to do this. This is just free advertisement for them. And so, yeah, maybe it is a little bit harsh to give MLS blunder of the week for this, where I think maybe more so than not, it's probably some animated AI system. But regardless, it's not a great look to see censorship like this taking a press conference that, let's face it, without the media, the press conferences don't happen. There is no answers at the press conference. And so, again, just taking away the resources to inform your fans, I don't think that's a great look from MLS whatsoever.
Not good. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, no, not good at all. And it was really disappointing to see. Like I said, I was hesitant whether or not we should have played any of the press conference clips from Bradley Cornell. We're obviously still live on YouTube. I was hesitant. Should I play a clip from the game? I know this game is going to get this video is going to get flagged for monetization because we played that clip, and I'm totally fine with that. And I noticed too, when I did the goals breakdown video, I had to break that up in two separate videos where, yeah, there was issues with that at times last year, but usually that was if the video was over 15 minutes long. That wasn't the case with last week's video. And so I just hope that something gets corrected in that system. And I'm not trying to make money. I don't think you're trying to make money off of press conference clips or the goals breakdown video. Like, yes, those video clips are MLS's property. They are Apple TV's property. But I think that you inform this fan base, you show little clips like that. I think that draws more people into watching MLS. And so, yeah, that was pretty disappointing to read and see. And yeah, I hope this isn't the start of something worse to come from MLS.
Yeah, I struggle with this one. I think you're absolutely right in terms of this is an easy, should be able to be fixed with, tweaking the bots or whoever's going around doing this. That should be simple. And it's not like you're showing live gameplay the way that I sort of tiptoe the line and likely get away with, because I do work with MLS during the regular season as part of the machine. So I would understand if you're doing like a live stream and playing the entire game off of a screen recording from the Apple TV app or whatever. If that's even possible, I don't even know how that works or how that would work. Yeah, it seems like MLS is not doing itself any favors recently in terms of, at the very least, they kept all of the match reaction writers returned. I can confirm that. Obviously, the Doyle loss is a different conversation. But there's still the Joe Lowrys, there's still the Charlie Bohms, there's still the Arnolds of the world that are writing. So I give them credit for that. I don't know the whole story behind Doyle and whatnot. I wonder what the metrics say. What does the telemetry say? Whatever. Getting rid of their podcast was also a weird decision. I don't know what the conversation was there with Extra Time, I think it's what it was called. So all that to say that it feels like as of late, MLS just keeps on stepping on rakes and hitting himself in the face, right? With just, unforced errors that sooner rather than later, hopefully they're able to sort something out. I must admit, and I don't know if I said this in a previous episode, but when we had our writing, our writers meeting, I did bring up the whole, it was a gigantic elephant in the room that was not addressed till the end. And it was a surprise to a lot of people when the match recaps, the automated AI match recaps came out last year around September, I think it was. And I believe that was likely very much a disaster because they pulled those down pretty quickly. And we haven't, as fans and as writers and reporters, press people, we haven't seen those come back. So my guess is that was an absolute error. So again, all that to illustrate that it's been a continuous, sometimes good, but then 3 steps back type of thing with MLS as of late. They made it easily accessible for people on the road, people worldwide, multiple languages, though scaling back on that. So very much like 2 steps forward, 15 back on some occasions, some parts of it all. So that won't steer us away from continuing. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But it certainly makes it, and I feel for the Sounders at heart folks because they do an incredible amount of work, and they do need to monetize their videos considering the quality and the way that they do it. Not that our stuff is not quality, but we're building something versus them having something that's been around for a long, long time. Jeremiah, Noah, Nico, my boy Nico Moreno out there, they do incredible stuff that they should be able to monetize their videos. And it's a shame that MLS is sort of stepping in there and not letting it happen.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say on this is a league that's fighting for relevancy in the crazy sports market that is America. You want to do all you can do to help grow the sport, and so yeah, why you would shoot yourself in the foot with a decision like this is beyond me. Where let's face it, it's a World Cup year, and it should be your biggest year yet for MLS. But we'll see what happens in the future. One last thing you say, Jose?
Yeah, in the topic of media, I do want to give a shout out, and this is the first time in a while, and I don't know what the circumstances were, but hopefully it's something that continues. Shout out to 6ABC for showing up
Yeah,
to the match.
it was 17.
Was it
PHL
PHL 17?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. If it was PHL 17, that's great. I apologize for maybe giving the wrong name. 6ABCs are the ones that keep fucking up, so that's why I said them. So PHL 17, shout out for showing up. Even asked a question. Very much, I feel like you could tell it wasn't a soccer specific reporter that was there. Asked a very neutral, what was the question about being back in the stadium and the fans,
Yeah,
I think.
which is fine. I mean, again, you love to see the coverage out there.
So just very happy that they're returning the favor of everything. I would say that Dave Leno does for them in terms of going and just hyping up this club to them there. So shout out PH 17 for showing up.
Yeah, and I guess we'll stick with the news topic, and then I'll let you go ahead and plug everything away. I do want to quickly mention thank you guys for all the support. I do honestly believe that without you guys, like your support and the amount of people that listen to the podcast, read articles, watch the goals breakdown videos, and everything, have definitely led me to some great connections with people. Definitely led me to some great guests to come onto the show. So yeah, it was an honor, a true blessing to appear on Fox 29 on Thursday last week, Brotherly FC, just to talk Philadelphia Union. And I know Jose had a chance to do that about a month ago, and so pretty cool to see both of us have the opportunity to step into a TV station and kind of seeing the behind the scenes world, which I don't think we really talked about that too much, Jose. But yeah, I mean, it was a surreal opportunity that I hope that both of us get one more time before the World Cup's here and over with. I do have a feeling that Fox is doing this because they do obviously have the rights to the World Cup, and Philadelphia is obviously hosting 6 games. So I do believe that this is part of it to build up that hype. But it was such a surreal experience just to speak to a wider audience that maybe isn't soccer heads like so many of you guys listening to the show that have been listening to the show for years. And yeah, last week was kind of surreal. People talking to us about partnering and having potential merchandise on the way. Somebody reaching out wanting to help with social media, and so we've seen a lot of people reach out the last couple of weeks, and we do appreciate all the support. And yeah, I know you were really grateful for that opportunity, Jose, to go into the news and talk about the Philadelphia Union, the World Cup, and the national team, just like I was. And A big part of that is because of what you guys do to support us, reading our work, following us on social media, interacting with us, listening to the podcast, all that stuff. And so you guys play a big factor into what the podcast is. And so I say it all the time, but I sincerely do mean it. Like, thank you guys so much for all the support that you guys give Jose and I, because all the cool opportunities that we've been able to have, we literally can't have them without you guys. So, Jose, anything you want to go ahead and plug away?
Was not on assignment this past weekend for MLS. I am back on assignment this weekend for MLS after I marry my brother-in-law to his beautiful wife on Saturday. I should be on assignment for the 7:30 matches. I wrote something kind of fun. I think I alluded to it earlier in the episode about of course, you as a fan and us as press are gonna follow the Union 2 as best as we can. But the reality is that there's so much more soccer to watch, and I know Val interacted with the article I put out. Just what are some other teams in USL and different leagues for you to watch? Thinking of Louisville, Lexington, Brooklyn, Chattanooga, Ocean City being some of the ones that I mentioned, and I gave some reasons why. So if you want to take a look at that, I posted it on Twitter as an article version, trying to test out that tool, and certainly through my Substack. But other than that, keeping on, man. I think you have some cool stuff happening. I'm really excited for what we got going on. I'm excited.
For sure. And if you guys don't follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast of The Free Kick. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Free Kick Pod. Wherever you get your podcast, like I said, The Free Kick. The podcast, goals, breakdown videos, and my articles all in one place, thefreekick.substack.com. Don't want to approach hour 30, so definitely flying past this. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Appreciate Static Age FC, cool hat. I there's no way I could have wore this with gigantic earphones on. So you guys saw Jose wearing the hat. Great local Philly brand, more to come. But yeah, we appreciate all the support from you guys. Icarus too. We love Icarus too, another local Philly brand. Support local people. That's what it's all about. So thank you guys all for this late Monday evening, 10:26 p.m. Almost an hour 30 on the podcast. So we'll be back when we're back. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is The Free Kick Podcast.